welcome back. We are finally at our last session of boot camp. My name is Michelle Vo. I'm a program manager here at Meta Horizon Start. Now I'd like to introduce you to Monsi and Dan, who are both excellent product managers here at Meta. Monsi and Dan will tell you more about how to monetize your 2D app as well as your journey through the Meta Horizon store. Please give it up for Dan and Monsi.
My name is Monsi. I am a product manager working on the Meta Horizon store. And today I will be starting with an introduction to the Meta Horizon store, and then I'll be handing it to Dan, who will cover the app submission process and a deep dive into monetization. Like I said, I'm Monsi and I support the store experience, working on the entire end-to-end experience from when a user comes into our store and what they see all the way through checking out to launch or entitle an application, and make their purchases. So my goal today is to give you an overview of how our store works, what the different touch points and experiences are, and then I'll hand it to Dan. So to start, let me tell you guys a little bit about our store home, or the landing page for when someone enters the store. The idea here is that this is really intended to be a personalized experience. At the top we have banners. This is areas where we promote and curate content based on campaigns that we're running. And that kind of is all curated content that appears through the banner. It also highlights events that may be happening in the store, like a sale. And then really everything below that is ranked for our users to be able to really have the best recommendations for them so that they can jump into what we think is most exciting and relevant for them within our catalog. We also have search as a key discovery surface. A lot of our users today do leverage search to discover and find content, either through looking for a specific title or by trying to browse and search for general, broader categories like fitness, and seeing what results get returned. Our goal here is to make sure that we are delivering the most relevant results to allow the user to filter whatever segment of content they are looking for. So our search results really are intended to make sure we're highlighting exact matches. If a user types a specific title, we want to make sure that that's the top thing we recommend them so they can quickly launch into understanding more details about that content and get started enjoying it within the device. We also give users the ability to further filter into segments of content within the search results to help them quickly hone in on what they're looking for. We're also building out a more robust null state experience. So when someone clicks into the search experience, really helping that be more of a launchpad for discovery for them to browse the catalog and categories that we offer. And so really we're trying to help them also pivot into key categorical searches that we know may be most relevant for them and allow them to browse and parse the catalog of content that we have in that way as well. Another key aspect of the store is when, with the store home, that's really about recommendations and trying to help recommend to the users what we think is best. Search is about them kind of controlling what they want to find. Within the store experience itself, we try to give them key levers to be able to navigate the breadth of our content catalog and quickly hone in on what they're also looking for in a different way than search allows them to do so. And with that, we've been iterating a lot on our navigation. You can see that we have kind of first order pills that users can click into to filter into games and apps. And then further within that, we give them additional pivots that they can utilize to further segment our catalog into perhaps, subgenres or other cuts of content. The idea here is that really we want to give them additional tools to have a launching pad into content, making it as seamless as possible, and frictionless as possible to quickly, ideally get into content that they love and will love and keep bringing them back to our devices and experiences. Once a user identifies or finds a title that they're interested in, once they click on it, they are taken to the product detail page. The product detail page is where we try to equip them with as much information as possible around the actual title or content themselves. And this is where we really want to put forth all of this information that you provide us to build confidence in the user's decision to launch that title. So this is where, any assets that you provide or videos get showcased up on the top. We also, provide descriptions and add other metadata around more details of the product itself, its compatibility, any other things that might be useful information. There's also ratings and reviews. This is where any users that leave a rating for your app, all of this information gets aggregated and is visible for other users to parse. And then, you can see right there, they can download the app and get into it seamlessly and hopefully as quickly as possible. On Top Charts, this is an area we've really been working on, and we're currently experimenting on additional cuts of Top Charts. The idea here is we really want to be able to showcase the best of our catalog on multiple dimensions. And so we're looking at adding new types of top charts and also helping users more easily find and discover our top charts by hopefully identifying ways that we can enable persistent entry points. We find that users can utilize this as a quick signal way to see the best of our catalog and quickly figure out what they want to do, especially for new users who may not be as familiar with our library. The other key thing that I want to highlight for you guys is sales. Sales are, often events that we feature within the store. You can see we have banners for sales. And then they have a dedicated section for users to view what content is on sale. And it's a really great lever for conversion and getting more people into your title. So if you have content that is available for purchase, you can offer it at a discounted price, and it's a great way to get, an increased bump in people utilizing your application and engaging with it. So it's a way for you to drive conversion. It's something that we promote within the store, and we run sales throughout the year, and we have a whole sales calendar that you can look at and opt into and whichever events you want to participate in. So it's definitely a great way to help promote your content. I'll hand it to Dan.
All right, thanks, Muncie. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan, and I'm one of the PMs at Meta, and my main focus is on developer tooling. Now that you've seen the look and feel of our store, I want to cover what it takes to get your app into that store. Then I want to take you through some of the monetization tools available on our platform. My main goal for this presentation is for you to feel comfortable with the app submission process and get a broad understanding of the different ways that you can make money on the Horizon store. The first thing I want to emphasize is that the MetaQuest platform is not that different from other app stores you might be familiar with. We might use different terms for things, but as you will see, we share a lot of the same processes as the other stores. So all apps that get submitted to the store gets reviewed. And while there's different steps to this, there are really three main types of reviews that we do at a high level. The first is binary or build reviews. This is where a reviewer actually puts on the headset and uses your app. We check against a set of requirements that we call virtual reality checks or VRCs. And some of these checks are simple. So for example, we enforce a maximum APK size of 1 gig, and others are more specific to the device, such as some of the input requirements. This is where 2D apps differ from immersive content. So many of the required VRCs for immersive 3D content do not apply to 2D apps. One example is that we require that 3D content hit a consistent 60 frames per second, but we make this a recommended but not required VRC for 2D content. We have some really great documentation around each VRC that I would recommend that you check out in our developer center. Next, I want to cover metadata reviews. Metadata is what we refer to as content within your product details page or PDP. These are things like trailers, screenshots, descriptions for your app. And I'll go into more detail about this on the next slide, but it's worth noting that there's really no difference in requirements for 2D or 3D content for this type of a review. Lastly, we have something called compliance checks, where if you use certain APIs, you need to align with these compliance checks. So for example, if you decide to use our achievements API, We want to ensure that you're protecting user data when you access it through our endpoints. Not all of these APIs will be applicable to your experience, so we recommend checking out our documentation. The last thing I'll point out here is that you can expect the initial review to take a few days because we're reviewing many different aspects of your app, but subsequent reviews will be much faster. I wanted to have a special section for app metadata because this is a really important part about how users discover your app. Unlike other mobile platforms, Quest users really like to browse, especially in the headset itself. So your app's PDP is likely the first thing that they will use to determine whether an app is a good fit for them. We've recently launched the ability to add GIFs to your long description, and you can see from this GIF that I included, this developer of an app called the Light Brigade is able to use GIFs with text to highlight different parts of their app in a really compelling way. One of the things I would recommend is previewing your app's metadata in the headset itself before submitting, and we have a way to do that in the developer dashboard. All right, so now that we've covered the basics of app submission, let's get into how you can start making money once your app is in our store. The first thing is whether your app should be free or paid. Okay, so this seems like a really basic question, but it's worth considering for the MetaQuest platform. For many of the mobile app stores, the default model is free, but on Quest, there's actually a healthy mix of paid content. So I would say that we're more similar to something like PlayStation versus the Google Play Store. As you can see in the screenshot, we have some very popular content that costs $29.99 on Quest. As a bonus, you can also see that YouTube is also a very popular app. It's a 2D app. I didn't cherry pick this screenshot, but it's a good way to demonstrate that there is an audience for 2D content within our headsets, and premium apps can be successful here as well. Okay, so now that you've made this free versus paid decision, I think the next step is thinking through how you plan to additionally monetize on our platform. None of these options should feel unfamiliar to you as an experienced mobile developer, but I do want to go over some nuances and examples. So the first is the difference between IAPs and DLCs. Typically, IAPs, as you might know, are currencies that users purchase for your app. While most purchases of IAPs happen within the app itself, we also allow IAPs to be merchandised in the store. DLCs or downloadable content are different from IAPs in that you can ship asset files for DLCs separately from your main app. A lot of 3D developers use DLCs as something like content add-ons for their experience. So for example, Beat Saber recently launched a Metallica song pack as a DLC. Walkabout Mini Golf is a really popular social app on our platform, and they release a new course every 2 weeks as DLCs. DLCs can be launched without updating the base app itself, which is one of its main benefits. Subscriptions is one of our newer offerings, but it functions just as you might expect, in line with other app stores. The main use case that we see right now for subscriptions are things like fitness apps or season passes for games. Now I want to quickly cover ads, which I know is important to many of you. Historically, we have restricted ads for 3D content, and we've only recently made an exception for 2D ads. This is a very important area for Meta, as you might imagine, so expect more updates to come next year as we work through more details. Currently, ads are allowed for social media and apps that are a window to an existing service. So, for example, if you're a media app, you can run in-stream ads for your content. The one thing that I want to note here is that apps that depend solely on advertising might not be successful on Quest devices because of its smaller install base. So I would recommend having a secondary monetization model based on what we talked about in the previous slide. Okay, now that we've covered some of the basics, I want to move on to some features that I think are pretty unique to our platform. The first I want to cover is coming soon and pre-order pages. Now, I know that mobile app stores can be a little bit more restrictive when it comes to pre-orders, but we've taken a different approach. What we found is that Quest users tend to be really engaged. They're the enthusiasts, so they really want to know what content is coming up and even be involved in that development. So one really cool pattern that we've seen is that a developer will make a coming soon page for their app, make a Discord channel, and then leverage release channels to share work in progress versions of their apps. So very similar to something like a test flight. The main difference between a coming soon and pre-order page is in the type of actions that users can take. So for a pre-order app, users can pre-order your content by making a commitment to pay for that content when it's released. Coming soon pages allows users to just wishlist your app. You can graduate your app from coming soon to pre-orders at any time. And we also offer a lot of flexibility when it comes to changing your launch date if your app is not ready in time. All of this to say that there's really no downsides to creating a pre-launch page, and we encourage everyone to do so as a way to start building your community. So with the content that you're going to be building, you're going to be targeting a new audience with a new content type. So we encourage you to experiment to see what's successful. We offer two types of A/B testing tools, one for assets and one for prices. This feature is near and dear to my heart because one of my first jobs out of school was managing mobile releases. And I spent a lot of time A/B testing icons on the Google Play Store. This feature is very similar to that functionality, and many of our developers have seen really impressive results through experimentation. What I think is different about our platform is that our user mix is always changing because you should remember that like mobile Quest devices is still a new device category. So we see that periodic testing of assets become really useful because what resonated with your audience 6 months ago might not resonate with new users who've joined our platform since. So one example I want to give you is Super Hot VR, which is an immersive 3D content and a title that launched, I think, all the way back in 2018. They did a metadata update recently that significantly improved their revenue. All right, so analytics has been my main area of focus for the past year, so I can talk about this topic for hours, but I'll keep it at a high level. Once you launch your app to our platform, we offer a suite of analytics tools to help you optimize your app. Analytics is one of the most popular tools within our developer dashboard, and I'm not saying that just because I work on this feature. We see many developers visit the pages weekly, so it's something that I would encourage everyone to do so. My goal for analytics is ultimately to help you make data-informed decisions. So use our dashboards to understand things like financial performance, where people are discovering your app, retention, crash rate, and the other key measurements. We've also recently launched benchmarks, which is the screenshot that you see here, to help you assess your app's performance against platform averages. So one example is that you can filter for all apps in your genre to see how other apps might be performing in that category. As you get more familiar with our dashboard, I'd love to get your feedback for how our analytics offerings compare to other platforms so that we can keep getting better. Okay, lastly, we have payouts. This is not much to say here. If you make money on our platform, we will pay you. Payouts are monthly, and you must generate at least $100 in your previous month to receive a payout. And we have a set of payout reports in our developer center that you can download as well. All right, so before we jump into our Q&A, I just want to quickly summarize what I think are some of the key takeaways from this presentation. So number one thing that I want to emphasize over and over again is that the Quest consumer audience is highly engaged. So I think it's quite a good idea to build in public and leverage tools like pre-orders and release channels to get quick feedback from your community. The second thing is that, while our monetization tools might seem familiar to you as a mobile developer, I would encourage you to think about how you want to adapt your app to be successful on a new platform. Lastly, I think that this is a really unique opportunity, and the START program overall is a great chance to bring your content to a new audience. So we encourage you to experiment and test into success for your own apps.
Thank you, Dan and Mansi, for your great session. And thank you all so much for joining us.